I know so much more today than I did 365 days ago. Awesome. That's great. 365 days from today, I'm probably going to say the same thing. And that's good. That's a successful year. When that stops, that probably means I'm not growing anymore. And I think that's a very dangerous place to live.
You don't know as much as you're going to know in a year, but you know way more than you used to. And that's always going to be the case. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 25 years from now, it's going to be the case forever. And I coach everyone from an 18-year-old to a 63-year-old. And I'm telling you, they don't have it all figured out. But they have some things figured out.
Next Level Nation, welcome back to another episode of Next Level University, where we help you level up your life, your love, your health, and your wealth. We hope you enjoyed our previous episode, yesterday's episode. Number 1583, is the thing you're running from the thing you need the most? Today, for episode number 1584, nobody knows what the hell they're doing. I saw an interview. One of Tara and I's favorite shows was Schitt's Creek. Funny show. Really funny. You know the dad, we were talking about American Pie the other day. You know the dad in American Pie?
Mm-hmm.
His
Eugene
son,
Levy?
His son, Dan Levy, is a director. I don't know if he's a director. He's an actor. Very funny. So they're in this together. The mom from Home Alone is in it as well. And then somebody else, I cannot remember her name. She's super funny. Everybody in it is super funny. The show was like a super surprise hit. Schitt's Creek was like a massive show. I think it won a bunch of awards. And Dan Levy was interviewed. And they were talking about how you've won so many awards and what's that like. And he said, look, nobody really knows what the hell they're doing. He said, we showed up every day and we did the best we could. And we had some ideas and we followed through with them. But nobody really knew if it was going to work or not. I don't know if anybody ever really does. I was having a conversation. Well, not really a conversation. Somebody messaged me today. And it's someone on the team. And they said, you know, people have been telling me for a long time I should have a podcast because what I talk about, I'm super passionate about talking about. But I don't know. I don't know where to start. And I feel like I don't know what to do. And we're going to hop on a call and I'm going to take care of this person. And I sent them a message. And I said, this whole thing is a balancing act of knowing the most you ever have while also knowing the least you ever will again. So when I say nobody knows what the hell they're doing, think of this. Right now, you know the most you ever have. Most likely, unless you forgot a lot of stuff. But let's just say that's not the case. You know the most you ever have.
Most likely, Kev.
Most likely.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you also know the least you ever will again because you're going to learn something tomorrow that's going to boost you up over the top. And this is the other thing, Alan, and I don't mean this in a negative way, but I've had the opportunity to talk to so many people behind the scenes that are either business owners, podcasters, coaches, people who look like they're doing really well on social media.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is not a judgment. This has just been very, very empowering. When I talk to them, most of them don't know what the heck they're doing at all. They have no clue what they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
But they do know what they're doing in their business or in their niche or in their whatever it is more than I do because that's their thing.
Yep.
But they're going to know more about that forever.
Mm-hmm.
So it really is this juggling act of you right now you know the most you ever have, but you also know the least you ever will. Right now, you're the smartest you've ever been, but you also have the most opportunity for growth. It's this weird thing, and I wanted to do a hyper-conscious episode on it. Do I know what's going to happen? Definitely not. Is it going to be a 7-minute episode? Very well could be, but let's see where it takes us.
There's that, I don't know if it's Socrates or Aristotle or whatever, but you say, I know that I know nothing. And we've all heard it. And here's the thing. Yes and no. So again, this is going to be very hyper-conscious. I know more than I did at 30, but less than I'm going to at 40. And I do this all the time. I always will. For the rest of my life, I'm going to do this. Think of something really dumb you did in high school. Just give me one. Something really dumb that you did in high school.
Didn't do any, never.
Kev didn't do anything dumb.
I was an angel.
Remember when we talked about Four Locos back when those were, before they were banned?
Yeah.
Yeah, just think of a dumb thing you did in high school. Everybody. please. Not hard to come up with them. Give us one, Kev.
Oh, man. When I was in high school, I didn't have my license at the time. And a friend of mine and I went out and we were egging houses. Not very nice. And we were driving down the street.
No.
I was driving the car. I didn't have a license. I got out of the vehicle. I ghost rode the whip. It was literally going down the street with nobody in it. I was 17 years old and I had no idea what I was doing. I was very reckless. I was a very reckless individual. So yes.
Oh,
and I'm
my
not.
goodness.
We laugh about it. I am not proud of any of that. It was
Genuine.
not. Obviously, it was not a very intelligent thing. Things could have gone much worse than they did.
Well, that's the thing, right? So Kev would never do that again. No way. Imagine.
No.
Hey, I'm gonna go egg houses and ghost ride the whip.
Yeah.
I'd be like, what, man? What
was
exactly are
wild.
we gonna do?
It was wild times.
So the thing that's interesting about this is, and the concept of this episode is no one really knows what they're doing, but it's a duality. You know what you're doing in a couple areas really well compared to others. And I think that that's really what I want to do. I talked about this in the last episode, apples to apples. So important for self-worth. Okay, maybe this is you, maybe it's not, but I think our listeners, statistically speaking, do tend to struggle with self-worth. I, myself as well. Apples to apples is one of the reasons. The comparisons aren't fair. So you do know a lot in certain areas compared to others. But here's the problem. If you think everyone else has it figured out and you're the only one who doesn't, and you don't happen to coach hundreds of individuals all over the world, like Kevin and I, then you won't really understand that pretty much everyone is just doing their best, and some of them are bettering their best, but for the most part, they're just as scared, just as anxious, just as disconnected, just as confused, just as lost as you. Now, I often say things like I was emotionally immature growing up. And I'll say that statement, and it's true compared to me now. I don't think I was more emotionally immature than other American males that are 16. I'm certain I wasn't more emotionally immature than Kev after that story. Although I might have been, honestly, I don't know. But the point is that it's just very, very important to understand this duality. You will never, ever, ever have it all figured out. No one does. But despite that inevitable truth that will always be true, you can get better and you can get smarter. And you are better and smarter most likely than you used to be. The question is not going to be whether you know it all, because you never will, or whether you know nothing, because you never will. You do know a lot. The question is, how much are you learning? It's almost like we're measuring the wrong stuff. I was emotionally immature. I was. Kevin very clearly was. Mm-hmm. Okay? But what matters is, do we become more emotionally mature over time? And at what rate? And I think that if we can just focus on that, everyone's doing their best, quote unquote. Giving all they have with all they've got every day. The thing that I find hard for myself, looking at my own past, I'll call myself out here, I wasn't bettering my best. There was a time in my life where I wasn't getting better. It was a short time, but I was miserable, I was unfulfilled, and ironically, I was pretending to be the most happy, most fulfilled, most confident version of myself. And if you saw me from the outside in, you would have thought I was so confident. And you probably would have thought I had it all figured out. But I didn't. I was deeply unfulfilled and deeply insecure. I was letting myself down in every area that matters to me, and I was compensating with ego. It was a short time, but it was a dark time. And quite frankly, a lot of people are there. And so no more comparing to social media, no more comparing to the outside in, no more comparing. What you really want to do is sit down and say, okay, where have I been comparing unfairly? Where have I was on the phone recently with a client who struggles with self-worth, and the physique that she wants to achieve, that other person is on drugs. They're on steroids. I'm certain of it. I said, stop comparing your natural physique to someone else on steroids. That's just a bad idea. The problem is most people aren't honest when they're using steroids. Most people aren't honest when they're using drugs. Most people aren't honest when they're inheriting the money. Most people are not honest, unfortunately. Maybe it's a privacy thing. Maybe it's none of anyone else's business. I get it. Okay, I understand. But stop comparing your reality to someone else's perception. And most importantly, try your best to live from the inside out instead of the outside in. When I was the most miserable, I was living from the outside in instead of the inside out.
When I struggle with comparison, I think it's a little bit different. I struggle comparing what I know to what I think I should know. Not necessarily what I know versus what somebody else knows. That's been, and maybe whether you're watching or listening, that'll resonate with you. That it's always been that way for me.
What do you think you should know?
Everything about the stuff that I'm supposed to know. I feel like I'm supposed to know everything about podcasting. Whatever everything means, I don't even know. Everything.
That's no good.
Oh no, it's not ideal. It's not ideal. I don't really think about other people when I think about that. I think more. We used to do live podcasts every week it started off as meetups on Zoom in the middle of the pandemic, and eventually went to
way back. It was masterminds, right?
Masterminds, meetups, and then it was lives in the Facebook group. Yeah, there was several iterations. And you and I, after, would meet with the team, and they'd give us feedback. And usually I would get good feedback because the team was very kind to me, and you were super improvement-oriented, so they'd usually give you some constructive feedback. You could do this, you could do this. And the thing that was always...
Those were brutal for me.
Yeah, well, I know. Those were always pretty easy for me. I'm grateful for them, but in a different way. Oftentimes I would get, yeah, Kev, you did a really good job. This was awesome. This was good, blah, 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 blah. And I would try to tell the team this. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's very kind, and I will take that and use it constructively. But I don't really care what you think. I care more about what I feel. You can think I did a 10 out of 10. In my mind, I wasn't a 10 out of 10. In my mind, it wasn't as good as it could have been, or I used more filler words than I could have. I'm comparing my capabilities to what I think I should be capable of now more than ever. And that was not always the case. In the beginning, when we started this podcast, it was I'm comparing to everybody else who's podcasters. Usually the people who are way ahead, and it hurts. It's not fun. But you can't just compare to people who are behind you. You can't just compare to people who are ahead of you. You have to compare to where people are in comparison to you. Where were they when they started? And even that, to Alan's point, you don't really know where they actually were behind the scenes. Mm-hmm. But just as a tangent, I find it harder for me to compare myself to what I think I should know versus what I actually know, because the truth of the matter is I don't know what anybody else knows. And I don't really know how quote-unquote successful other people are. I don't know what their relationships are really like. I don't know what their bodies are really like. But I do know what mine is, and I do know what my relationship is, and what our business is, and listens and all that. So maybe a tangent for the audience.
My name is Alex, and I am a professional videographer who runs a production company out of Halifax, Nova Scotia. The one thing that I love about working with Alan is that right away he was able to come in and set up a system for me that makes sure that I am taking charge of my time and I'm taking the actionable steps that I need in order to progress towards my goals on a day-to-day basis. When I get off the phone with him, I always find that I am energized and I am getting the most out of what I do with my time.
Yeah. There's so many places we can go with this. The first thing I want to share is everyone does compare to those around them unconsciously. It's human nature. It's part of being a tribal species. So you are going to compare to people around you, whether you like it or not. If you're in a bathing suit with a bunch of other people, you're going to look around and you're going to say, am I or am I not in shape in comparison? You are your own worst critic. Everyone is. You're thinking about you more than other people are thinking about you. It's just human nature, right? If you have a pimple on your face, no one else notices, but you care deeply. That's just kind of the way human nature works. So you just got to kind of fight back against that. And I guess what I would say is learning, growing, improving. Kevin and I joke behind the scenes because sometimes we'll talk about challenges we're having in our relationship, and Not bad ones, not he and I's relationship, but our intimate relationship. So like we'll joke about humble pie that I got or him, just egghead moves that sometimes dudes make. And I'll say, and what's the solution? And he'll be like, same every time. Get better. I mean, what's the alternative? Emilia and Taryn's feedback, his wife's name's Taryn. Emilia's my girlfriend, future wife. Whenever I say future wife, people are like, are you engaged? It's like, no. I'm very future oriented. Yeah.
Yes, we are in the future.
Yeah. Yeah, in the future we are. They always say, congratulations. And I'm like, oh, no. Well, thank you. But I just call her my future wife because she's my everything. But anyways, it's not like they're wrong about their feedback. It's what are we going to do? No.
Incorrect.
Yeah. No, I don't think so.
No.
Right?
Not real.
Yeah. And I think, unfortunately, some guys do that and they end up divorced or miserable. But at the end of the day, we're being playful here. And the answer is always just get better. If that's what your goals require, right? If we want to have the best marriage, best relationship we can, we have to go get better. And we have to take that feedback. And then there's certain things that maybe you don't want to get better. I remember one time I jokingly with Emilia, we were like, what do we have to give up? And we gave up together in the beginning of our relationship, like 2 months in. And I'm like, let's give up fast food. Dude, 2 months in, I'm at Dunk's, right? And we're on the phone. And she's like, is Dunkin' Donuts fast food? And I'm like, nope, not to me. No, I basically eventually said, sweetheart, I don't want to do this. I don't want to. It's convenient. I need my calories. It's right next to the gym. Like, I'm doing it. I'm not getting Dunks. Like, nope. Call me. Like, I'm done with this whole quitting fast food thing. But anyways, my point is this. You're never going to know it all. You're never going to know nothing. Life is a dance between those two extremes. And are you getting better and doing all you can with all you have? As esoteric and fortune cookie as that sounds, that is the game. That is it. Self-awareness, others' awareness, world awareness. How much do you know about yourself? How much do you know about how the human condition works? How much do you know about the world, how it works, and why it works that way? And are you capable of getting better towards your goals and dreams? And that's what this podcast is about. That's what every conversation we have is about. And so you don't know as much as you're going to know in a year, but you know way more than you used to. And that's always going to be the case. 10 years from now, 15 years from now, 25 years from now. It's going to be the case forever. And I coach everyone from an 18-year-old to a 63-year-old. And I'm telling you, they don't have it all figured out. But they have some things figured out, and that's just the way it works.
If this would be my next level nugget. If I had to choose between thinking I know everything I need to know and thinking I know nothing of what I need to know, I would choose the second one. I would choose thinking I know nothing of what I need to know because I think that's more constructive, at least for me. Again, there's a lot of layers, self-worth and self-belief, and you don't want to beat yourself up for your entire life. So it doesn't have to be that way. We don't have to choose that. But some days I feel like I have a lot of things figured out. And then when we'll get to the end of the year and I'll look back and say, wow, I had no idea what I was doing at the beginning of the year. Not a freaking clue. Did I compare to other people? Sure, maybe. But that doesn't really matter. I can't compare to that. I have to compare to what I knew. I know so much more today than I did 365 days ago. Awesome. That's great. 365 days from today, I'm probably going to say the same thing. And that's good. That's a successful year. When that stops, that probably means I'm not growing anymore. And I think that's a very dangerous place to live. So if you get to the end of the year and you say, wow, I'm a different version than the person I was at the beginning of the year, I think that's awesome because that means at the beginning of the year, you didn't know what the hell you were doing. It also, 365 days from today, you can say the same stuff. It doesn't mean you didn't know what you were doing really, but it just means that there's always going to be so much room for growth. And then just to second what Alan said, I've never met someone who doesn't have a massive level of uncertainty in something. Ever, 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 ever. Most people have massive levels of uncertainty in many things. Mm-hmm. So I know people they might make it look easy. They might make it look like they're not nervous. They might make it look like things just work out, and they always do. I'm telling you that is not the case internally, and it usually doesn't go that way. So don't beat yourself up based on the results that you don't have compared to the results that other people pretend to have. because that's going to be a losing game for life. And I'll say this, the results you don't have yet. Just because you don't have them yet doesn't mean you can't get them.
Yeah, the on the surface, everything looks easier than it really is. From the outside in, everything looks easier than it really is. Behind the scenes and inside of someone, they are struggling just like you. Maybe just with different things or in different amounts. But struggle is a forever. And I think that despite that, we can create magnificent lives. Very last thing, this is an analogy. I try it all the time. I don't know if it'll ever land. I'm a computer engineer, so I tend to like these analogies. My iOS, I just opened my settings, automatic updates, software update. It says this update provides important bug fixes and is recommended for all users. For more information, blah, blah, blah. iOS 17.2.1. If you were graduating high school in 2007, you would know that that was the first year the iPhone came out when we graduated high school. And many of my friends got the iPhone when we were seniors in high school. And the very first iPhone in comparison to this iPhone would be an absolute piece of junk and garbage. But back then, it was a revolutionary, world-changing breakthrough. And so the point is that this iPhone is not as good as it's going to be, but it's way better than it used to be. Same with every one of us. And these software updates, each one of our episodes at NLU is supposed to be a little software update. Little new awareness, little new capability, little new skill, little new way to think, little new perspective, little new whatever. So I'm going to update this. It actually says update now. So I'm going to update this, hit update now, put in my little password, and then my iPhone will get better. And hopefully that's what we're doing with all listeners every single day. A little bit better, a little bit better, a little bit better.
And we are definitely doing that behind the scenes to make sure that we can add value, hopefully, on these microphones.
For sure.
That's the goal. I like to be funny. I like to be funny. But I want to add value.
You got to be both.
Here, a last thing, too. Alan and I, right after this, we're actually going to record a new intro and a new trailer. I don't know what we're going to have time to do. We're recording new stuff. I am a podcast coach who has coached hundreds and hundreds of people, and our podcast production company has produced thousands, like probably 4,000, 5,000 episodes at this point, and we're still out here jeffing our own podcast, okay? So there's always going to be room for growth and improvement, and you can't, it's the juggling act of beating yourself up to the amount necessary that's constructive and giving yourself grace to the amount that's constructive. You're not going to be able to do it all in one day. You're not going to figure it all out in one day, but it doesn't mean you can't get a little bit better every day. If you are looking for a group of like-minded humans, please join our private Facebook group, Next Level Nation. I know a lot of people are in a lot of Facebook groups, but hopefully this can be the most positive one. This can be the one where you find your peak performance partner. It can be the one where you can be the most authentic version of yourself. If that is what you got out of joining our Facebook group, that would be a giant win for us, because that's what we're aspiring to. So link will be in the show notes. As always, we'd love to see you there.
This episode brought to you by iOS Update 17.2.1. No, we just changed the show notes, to Kevin's point, to an updated version of this show. So check those out if you haven't. Please check them out. All our contact info is in there. More importantly, if you've never seen our website, NLU is much more than just a podcast. We have a lot of other stuff. I hope you check out the website. And if you have any questions, email me or Kevin, Alan at nextleveluniverse.com, Kevin at nextleveluniverse.com. The person who has nextleveluniversity.com is asking for way too much money, so we decided to make it a universe instead of just a university.
It was the right choice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Hopefully. Tomorrow, for episode number 1585, is your regret real? We often talk about reverse engineering regret, avoiding regret, learning from regret. So we're going to do an episode on regret tomorrow because we haven't done it in a hot minute. As always, we love you. We appreciate you. Grateful for each and every one of you. And at NLU, we do not have fans. We have family. We will talk to you all tomorrow.
Talk to you soon. Next Level Nation.